the first black families in Worcester had been slaves, children of slaves or freed people, or came straight from Africa. Margaret and Janice Robbins, both born and raised in Worcester, were among the first black families in the city. Their father, George Robbins, left Sierra Leone, West Africa in 1912. Margaret recalls the racial tension she experienced as a child because her father was an African native.
And those people who knew that we were, our father was African born, then we really got some terrible name called, monkeys and that sort of thing. And we were asked, did he wear loincloths and did he climb trees? And their whole, picture of Africa was based on what they had seen, in movies and that sort of thing. So.
Black families like the Robbins, who encountered discrimination, overcame the racial obstacles by taking pride in their heritage.
I'm proud. I washed and I scrubbed, but 'twas all in vain. I peered in my mirror, but still looked the same. My black skin still shone. It had not changed a mite. In spite of my efforts, I couldn't be white. I stopped then to think of my people who rose from slavery with all of its sorrows and woes, to stand on their feet, the equals of all, to fight for their country, to answer the call.
During the early 1900s, blacks settled here in the Summer Street area, or at the lower end of Shrewsbury Street, which was then known as Pine Meadow. Census records show a slow growth in the black community at that time. Only 1,500 blacks lived in Worcester between 1910 and 1940. Sarah Ella Wilson was a black pioneer in the field of education. She taught first grade at Elizabeth Street School, which was where most of the black students studied. Wilson was one of a handful of black professionals to be working in the city. Skilled jobs for blacks were scarce. Before affirmative action, blacks were restricted in the workplace to remedial jobs. Worcester's Louis Shropshire Jr. was one of 10 sweepers at a local manufacturer.
The black guys had to go there 15 minutes early. Had to be in 15 minutes early because we had to change and put our white, they looked like ice cream vendors' uniforms. We had on white pants, white shirts, and a white cap like a bus driver. The white guys could go in their street clothes, punch in.
Years later, Lewis became the third black patrolman with the Worcester Police Department. He's retired after serving his community for 20 years.
I consider myself black and I'm proud of it, but I don't think it's a benefit or a disadvantage. It's just, here I am, I'm me, and I can't do a thing about it, so accept me or reject me.
Oh, beautiful, far heroes proved.
During the civil rights movements of the 60s, African Americans struggled for equal opportunity. But here in Worcester, a strong sense of pride that black is beautiful enhanced progress in education, leadership, and politics. Black businesses became more visible in the city. Colin Roach stresses quality service and the right product makes or breaks any business regardless of race.
If you got the right products, then you got the business maybe right across the board. Not even the black community alone, but all community may support it.
Black businesses are slowly growing in the downtown area and along Chandler Street. Danny Brand, the president of $1 million operation, Brand Disposal Corporation, says black businesses still have to deal with subtle racism.
It seems to me that I did have some problems getting loans, getting financing because of my skin color. And that's, it's hard to prove.
There's still a lot of underlying bigotry and discrimination. It's blatant because the laws say that you can't do some things, but there are ways of getting around things.
For decades now, much of the black community has looked at their religious beliefs for strength and motivation. Here on Belmont Street, the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church was founded in 1796 and today continues to encourage black unity.
Because the church draws us together on a common cause. It gets us together and it provides healthy enrichment and culture and spiritual uplifting.
We are not in positions of power. We are not very visible. We hold no elected positions within the city. Within our black communities, our strongest, I would say, institution is our church. There is where we find the leaders within our community.
The last black elected official was Betty Price, a member of the school committee for 2 terms during the 70s. Before her, Councilor Charles Scott served on the Common Council from 1917 to 1938 when he died in office. Since then, there have been less than a dozen black candidates running for public office. The most recent, William Coleman, ran in the last election and lost.
African Americans need to be represented because this is a changing world. Worcester is not an isolated environment. When people leave Worcester and they go to other parts, major metropolitan cities like Boston, Philadelphia, Washington, and they meet prominent, well-heeled African Americans, a lot of times it's a cultural shock. But then we also have to say something to the youth of our community, that all of us are equal, that you all have the same opportunity.
I think we've got the potential to run more candidates for public office.
A promising future for African Americans is the overwhelming feeling in the city. The number of blacks has nearly doubled since the 80s, but some think it's a slow growth that could hold back tomorrow's leaders.
If the black population in Worcester doesn't continue to grow, then the need for leadership, just stays held back. It doesn't increase.
In addition to representation, blacks are looking forward to meeting economic and social challenges.
Well, I think education is the key. I'm convinced that when a person has knowledge and is able to use that knowledge effectively, that they can go to the marketplace with their skills and begin to build a better life for themselves. Poverty is one of the biggest problems that we have. People do not have the resources they need to access all that is available.
Many blacks in the community say optimism is fostered from their history of accomplishments and by realizing that discrimination is an individual problem.
I thought of our leaders in all fields of life, doctors and lawyers engaged in the strife, dancers, musicians, and scientists too, who, though black, have been honest, respected, and true.
Though African Americans have already made many contributions to Worcester's growth, area leaders say there's potential in the black community that has yet to be discovered.
What has to happen is that opportunities have to be made available for people to succeed. Success is the greatest motivator of all. And our children need to be able to succeed. They need to build on the skills where they are and be brought to a higher level of competency.
For love is not judged by the shade of one's face. So I'll wash not and scrub not, nor try to be white. And I'm not finding fault because I guess they're all right. And I know I'm not perfect, for some things I lack. But always, I'll thank God that I was born black.